Hello and welcome to Rauta's opinion video. This was actually requested for me by one of the followers of the channel, and actually it's been a topic that has been running through my mind a couple of times, but I wouldn't know if it was interesting to anybody, because after all, this is all about packaging, making those CDs more or less interesting, different from each other and whatnot. So basically the idea is to talk about different packaging of CDs, mainly about jewel case and digipak. I have taken a pile of CDs here just to give you a little bit of insight what kind of solutions have been out there, which are some of my favorites, because they're not your typical CDs. I'm gonna a little bit discuss why I prefer one over the other, and also mention what are the good sides and bad sides of jewel case versus digipak. So here it goes. It might be a little bit boring talk, but bear with me if you are into. Let's start with your average jewel case. This I just picked in more or less, I guess, alphabetical order, or one of those albums here. So basic jewel case, as you guys can see, everybody knows this. This doesn't need any explanation. Basically, what you have here is this plastic tray, which is easily that is removed from its kind of the whole case. It has these little teeth, like we call them in Finnish anyway. So once you just put them, they kind of bend a little bit, and well, there you have it. The good sides of jewel case is obviously that once you break a jewel case, because that eventually happens, you drop it, especially when you have like corner down on the floor, rather hard surface, it will break either from the corner, it will start shattering here, or then it will break these teeth here, or sometimes you will just end up having a kind of a break on the cover. You will have a huge mark here, which is not so great to look at. I usually replace whenever I manage to kind of drop one of these. When I get these broken, I will just replace it. I don't usually I can't stand having broken ones on my there. I mean, they are really boring. Now, every now and then we obviously have different kind of jewel cases. These never came as a big thing, like never became too successful, but I found actually one of these to just show you a example. Like for example, here is this is a broken piece of plastic. Why I cannot replace it? Thing is here, this particular Darkthrone release is so-called, I think it was called something like super jewel case or some jewel box or something like that. As you can see, the hinges here are very different from your typical jewel case. Also, that makes possible to create these kind of different kind of inlays. So you actually have these hole here. It's not just, you know, kind of a square. And also these are more rounded edges, which are better for, you know, dropping that on the floor or whatever. But the downside is, if you get this one into pieces, if you get this one to shatter, break apart or whatever, it's usually gone. You cannot replace it, because these kind of jewel cases are rare. There are some probably wholesale places where you can replace them, but it doesn't come cheap. However, this one has a little bit stronger centerpiece with its kind of a sturdier teeth, if you will. So in a way, a lot better, but also because it's rare, it's harder to replace it. Now, then we move one of the kind of classic digipaks. There are lots of different ways. If you have ever printed your own CDs, you're probably familiar with the different kind of types. There are probably dozens of different types. Even basic printing facility for CDs and whatever have different kind of things. Sometimes they just open like this, and then you have this tray, and that's it. But in some cases we have more opening pages. Sometimes they open even more, like four-fold basically. This is so-called three-fold. Sometimes they even open extra page here, you know, so they might be like three-fold this way, four-fold, whatever. And there are different kind of variations. Why I picked this is just because it's been going with me so long time. I really like this. This is kind of like the typical digipak case, which I really like. And one of the other reasons is why I wanted to bring this one is you might remember from at least early 90s. I don't know if there was so much in common in any way when we entered the new millennium, but there were these kind of shaped CDs, which in dissection's case, why I decided to go with this one, was shaped in this dissection cross, you know, with this kind of the what you call trident with the inverted cross. It was shaped to the CD like that. Wasn't really handy when it came to playing that in a car player, but it looked fantastic. I had a couple of those. Now, why I don't have that Where Dead Angels Lie MCD with the shaped disc anymore is because I borrowed to a friend of mine, and then years passed and I, well, kind of lost it. It's probably still in his collection. I should probably contact him and get it back, I mean. Then some other unusual packaging before I start to talk about more. This is actually not a metal release, but doesn't matter because for the sake of just showing you different kind of packaging, which is technically not a digipak, this is very cool, kind of a digisleeve. Digisleeve means there is no CD tray as such, but the CD falls in, kind of like slides in nicely. So there are no plastic parts to be broken, which makes this really handy. Also, it's very thin. These are very nice when you have to send them all across the world. For example, if you're doing self-financing, if you have a label and you want to save on postage, this is very handy. And you still don't have to remove the plastic parts. And also, when you have these kind of special things like this top cover page, which is kind of like a baking paper. It's kind of a semi-transparent, but with this I don't know if it can be called embossed, but anyway, the text printed here, and then we have this image. And same goes for the background with track list, and boom. This is actually one of my favorite packaging of all times because of this baking paper kind of thing. And even though inside it's just normal digisleeve. So no jewel case, no tray whatsoever, no teeth to be broken. You can pretty much drop these and these won't break, but obviously these will get, you know, bruises and whatnot. You can, if you bend these, well, everybody knows what happens to cardboard when you bend it. So it's a little bit so-so. Then one of my favorite type of digipaks are, of course, called digibooks. So this is one of my favorites in that sense. As you can see, this is a book with a couple of trays, actually 3 of them. So what we have here is kind of like double packaging, and then we have here normal packaging, and this also comes with this kind of a almost like baking paper type of a semi-transparent thing. And obviously this comes with a nice book, so it's just way more than your normal booklet what you have. Feels nice, looks gorgeous, and wow, this is even embossed a little bit. If you can see, it's gleaming when the light hits it. There you go. There you have this effect. This would be definitely my favorite, but the downside of these is obviously you just cannot put it on the shelf and fit it in nicely because this is atypical format. So it kind of sucks, but it looks totally nice. One of those you can put on your, I don't know, glass cupboards or whatever. Then even more when we go a little bit further in these kind of weird packaging is one of these Slayer compilations, which is nice. Even some of the more traditional jewel cases have these kind of transparent plastic, kind of a thin plastic things, kind of covers, which are more like sleeves. You probably know from those normal jewel cases, which have sometimes cardboard covers, sleeves, but this is made of plastic, which I guess makes it a little bit better in terms of, you know, keeping the stuff intact. But more so is important is this kind of a multiple jewel case tray thing, which is actually this big. There's not much else to see. I mean, if we just count into the fact that this is kind of a 5-fold CD, not very handy. Actually, one of them is DVDs, but that's beside the point. And then we have just your normal booklet here. Thicker than normal, but anyway. So these kind of packagings are, in my opinion, the best, the coolest to have. I'm not much of a collector, never have bothered collecting CDs or vinyls for that sake. I mean, the sake of collecting itself. But why I like these are that they make these albums feel even more special. Not just because the music is good, but it also feels good. It's like almost smells good. It looks nice and all that stuff. But now the question becomes apparent. How will they survive when you have this habit of drinking and listening to music and then you just end up dropping? Well, obviously these kind of special editions or collector's editions are not very good for your drinking habits when you have friends around the house who have the problem of putting CDs in the trays and whatever. Luckily nowadays it's just easier to do the YouTube disco. You just put some videos in rotation or a Spotify playlist or whatever Deezer, what have you. So I wouldn't totally recommend you getting these kind of stuff. But these are, I think, sometimes even better than the vinyl. Now vinyl is of course the king of formats when it comes to the actual art. I probably have some vinyl here. I mean, just for the sake of comparison, even though this is a, no, this is not vinyl with a cover. But for example, here, I mean, this is the size of real art. Now this is digibook. And how much more pathetic it becomes when you kind of make it even smaller. Now tape would be roughly less than a half, 1/3 of the whole area here. So once again, when it comes to the actual art of any given record, I would say vinyl is killer, right? But vinyl, as much as CD, or even more so, is more prone to just fall into pieces when you drop them around. Of course, when you're just a little bit sloppy with your hands and all that stuff, vinyl might just get scratched or even avoid that. But I mean, you cannot really bend so vinyl too much without it breaking. So the question remains, when we prefer CDs or a CD format and when it's about digipak versus jewel case. I mean, I totally get it when you want to have it simple and nice. And of course, if you're fanatic about first printings and whatnot, I mean, like you're taking a look at these texts here, figuring out which version is which. I mean, I don't have any rarities in my collection. I probably have some, but I mean, like first prints of some black metal releases. But to be honest, I never paid too much attention. I've actually kind of downgraded, if you will, certain CDs from my collection for a friend, just for a pint of beer. I mean, like, for example, there was like first print, I think Gorgoroth, I don't even remember which album, and my friend wanted to have it, and I'm like, okay, you can have it, just give me your version, which was newer one, and he offered me a pint to kind of for replacement. So my point is, I don't care that much about any given prints, whether they are label number 1 or label number 2, but I get it. It's important thing to some people, especially if you are being collector of first prints. Excuse me. And of course, if you are about to make a little bit of money someday with your collection, of course that information matters. To me, however, these are, in a way, to bluntly put, they are products. So, for example, this dissection, which I bought around 1995, I would say, gotta be 1995, because I mean, this didn't came before that, but this was probably spring 1995. Might be fall. I'm not really sure. Anyway, I bought it when it was fresh, and as you can see, this has still survived through many house movings without much more than just a little bit of getting worn out. So digipaks can be just nice when you put them in your shelf nicely. And for me, they are way better with their colors, the feel, and you know how they just look like. But I get it. CDs are, I mean, the jewel case CDs, they are just more simple, they are more replaceable, and they all look kind of similar in your collection. So, I mean, if you're not into putting these weird size formats such as this in your collection, it kind of makes sense to just go for the jewel case. You don't have to be worried about getting worn cardboards or even getting them, you know, ripped a little bit. No cuts, no weird bends and all that stuff. But to me, the selection is just simple. It's kind of given. It's obvious. It's jewel case over everything. And if I could have, I would like to have all my CDs in a digibook version or digipak version if digibooks are not available. For example, I don't have Burzum's Philosophem as the A5 size digibook, even though I remember my friend having it back in the days, I mean when it first fresh and all that stuff. I don't know why I didn't get it. Maybe it was sold out by the time I got into the CD. I'm not sure. Or maybe I just got some other version. Really don't remember. So my point is, if it was up to me, I would just get them nicely all in digipak format. But for example, when it comes to reviews, I don't get to select what I got from the label. And usually when I have the jewel case, it doesn't make any sense for me to just like, okay, I'm gonna sell this to a friend or give it to a friend and then buy the other version, because it's just like stupid consumerism in my opinion. When I already have it in jewel case format, why just not keep it? However, I have updated, upgraded if you will, certain CDs along the time. For example, I had Ball Throwers for Victory, just a normal edition for many years, and then later on came a version with another CD with more content. That was kind of cue for me to just upgrade it. And I was thinking about that with the At the Gates Slaughter of the Soul CD as well, because when I had the original version and later came the version with some bonus tracks, I was like, man, I need to have those bonus tracks. So it wasn't so much about upgrading normal jewel case for digipak, but it was about getting the songs. So once again, if the case was like normal jewel case versus digipak, or say jewel case with bonus tracks, I would go for the bonus tracks, because eventually, in essence, the tracks are the thing. Packaging is secondary, but obviously it means to me somewhat, with some recordings more than the others, but well, there you have it. No further words needed, I guess. What is your favorite packaging? Do you have any kind of specialties? I would be happy if you would take a photo and add it in the comment box, or if you have seen online, you don't have to necessarily own any cool digipak or digibook or whatever format, but if you have, you can just comment with a picture. That would be really nice. Anyway, this is my opinion about jewel cases versus digipaks. What is yours? See ya and bye bye.